posting it.
Oh, really?
First time I'm posting on YouTube, so you got that first.
YouTube celebrity.
Oh,
All right.
About the YouTube, Jerry.
YouTube. Let's go.
What's
Man,
up?
that feels good to go.
I know.
So today we got Big Jacques on the show. He's our boy. He's 22, young buck. Jacques, if you want to give yourself an introduction, I mean, shoot, I'm gonna do you a disservice because you might as well introduce yourself.
Yeah, I know you guys don't ever just downplay me all the time. No, I'm just playing. I'm fine. But now, shout out to Gino. Shout out to Chandler. You guys, huge in the market right now. You guys don't know this. I'm trying to be the black version of Gino.
Sure.
But no, just to give a slight introduction. Been in the real estate space since 19. Started was a college dropout. Went to college for 3 days. Started as a server. From there, I learned about wholesaling back in November of 2018. After that, did my first flip at by March. Did that. So bought a house subject to. Continued wholesale career. Formed a partnership last year. Just kind of summarize it. So we formed a partnership last year. With me, Justin Ship, and obviously Preston Cower as well. So we did about $700,000 in revenue last year.
In 2020, right?
Yeah, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Then we split after that. So then this has been me and Preston up until actually the 30th. So we officially on my own now. But at this point, we've done $1 million in revenue. For the company, we've been primarily focusing on more so just a wholesale strategy. I can count on my hand the amount of wholesale deals that we've done. A majority of what we've done, we've bought, closed on, sold, or flipped or rehabbed. So pretty much, I think I counted up the amount of transactions I've done in real estate for the past 3 years combined. So I think I'm at 100.
Heck yeah.
So that's so right now, really the next phase of just the next journey for next year is just really more so of finally actually trusting in myself and getting rid of the whole partnerships and partners and stuff like that.
Like that.
And then more so just really focusing on volume. So my goal by end of year next year is to at least do 150 deals. So that means we have to get to the 10 to 12 mark. Right now, this month, I'm onboarding more acquisitions. We're making a lot of major changes to business. We've already made a lot of major changes. I've invested heavily into mindset, which is something that I want to talk about today. Just because I'm a big my mentality on it is that at the end of the day, to get to certain levels of where you want to achieve, your mind has to be in a place that you've never been before. And just to also be able to lead, lead a team and motivate them. We just had our operations meeting. So we have, which I'm pretty sure you guys do as well. You have your operations meetings weekly. So we just had ours this morning. And so I had my team's kind of built out a little different. So I just had Sasha, who's she's my head of marketing, and then she's also she's our VA coordinator as well. She was just telling me on a call about how everybody on the team talks. I even all of my VAs, they all follow me on Instagram apparently. So and then but they were just telling me, and I hear from the people who work directly with me in the office too, that hey, Jacques, you're a big inspiration to us. You push us to levels that we never even thought of pushing ourselves. So just hearing stuff like that and really seeing that I sit back and watch that everybody, all the team, they all have respective group chats and stuff like that, cold callers, texters, lead follow specialists, and I see how they interact with each other. They're texting each other good morning. They're kind of taking an example. So that's a big thing that that I really appreciate the fact that at the end of the day you can sit back, and I don't text in the group chats. I don't say I'll probably make an appearance here once or twice, but they're all really, it's like a community that you built and you're just watching it thrive, under you. I know you guys can relate to that.
For sure. So, go back though, just because I think we skimmed over it pretty quick. Like, what was your numbers that first year, 2019? Because you grew tremendously, in those 3 years. So just break it down per year. Like, what, just so the listeners can get an understanding of, like, you didn't just go from 500 to 600 to 700.
So like first year, like officially, like in real estate, I did about like I made like 6 figures first year in real estate. And then after that, like I said, so we went into the partnership and we did 700. A lot of it was from systems and stuff, but like at the end of the day, it was just like, I believe like we could have done more. It just wasn't really built up. It wasn't really like, how it is with partnerships. So like,
Let's
so
speak
like,
about that too, Jacques. So I know we get in the third year. You're like, now, like you said, you're going over $1 million plus, right?
Mhm.
So Chandler he ghosted us, but anyway. But so let's talk about that a little bit. We don't have to go into deep detail about your partnerships, but tell us what you've learned in having partners, because that's a big thing. When everyone starts, and I did it too.
Mhm.
Everyone starts, you want to bring a buddy along, right? That's just what we fall trapped through as entrepreneurs. Because one, either we want to bring our person along because we want them to succeed as well, right? We want to bring that person on. I've had it in the past in businesses where hey, let me bring my friend over here that's been around for a while because I want him to succeed with me and do this along the way, and so I'm not lonely.
Mhm.
But there's a big problem in doing that. And so let me know, or can you explain to the listeners, what you've learned in terms of partnerships in the last couple of years?
Yeah, just like to add on to your point, like some people feel like you have to bring the person along. Some people feel like for me, for example, sometimes you feel like you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I think some people get into partnerships because they feel like that it's like a sense of like security, even though it's not really security, but you feel like you have like a battle buddy or something like that in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, things I've learned about like partnerships is that like for one, partnerships are marriages, right? So like one thing I've learned, and it's like you have to be diligent and you have to be careful about who you partner with. Like I've like granted, I have like no bad experiences from my partnerships. Like, but everybody I partnered, like my business partners, all stand up people, all honest people, all like I'm still good friends with them to now, right? But other people don't really like learn how to really like date their partners, like in a sense of like before you put yourself on that LLC with that person and you open up a joint bank account and you're doing all the steps that you do if you married somebody, right? Because like right, and most people don't understand that, like like when you're putting yourself on the LLC or on a formal document or incorporation with that person, is that like if that person has a lawsuit, your trust, like people will come after your assets as well because of that partnership, the way that's structured. But most people don't understand, like, so you have to trust the character of the person to not do shady stuff and go out in the world. Like, for example, my business partner up until this point was he was a real estate broker. So I mean, if he's on the LLC with me, he has to really trust that Jock. Like, hey, I hope you're not doing anything stupid. So because that comes back on me being a broker, like which he trusted me, which I haven't done anything stupid. So like, there's that.
I think it's important to bring up. It's important to bring up because a lot of people don't understand that, and that's what I challenge people when they first start out. Especially what I've learned in the last couple of years is like, when you're going into and you find that person and it seems so perfect. I mean, once there's a lot of different ways how you can identify, or one thing you can identify if that person's the right partner by, a couple tests, a couple conversations, and digging deeper in who they are. But also, what you can do is you can ask that person, and you can ask that person, hey, let's date for like 6 months. And basically, what you're going to do is you're going to run the business like you would if you're partners, right? If you had the same LLC together. But now what you're going to do in that 6 months is you're going to really see how that person acts, because anyone can act for the first month, 2 months, 3 months. You get 6 months deep, and right, you're sharing your financials with them, right? It's not that you're being private, but you're not sharing the company, right? You guys are both operating out of two entities, and this is actually very popular, like the way to do it. Even it's Pace Morby and his partner Cody Barton. That's how they started. They dated for 6 months, right? They got Cody, he's more integrator, very into the systems, and Pace obviously is a great closer, and loves that visionary mindset. So they knew they were a good fit, but they still dated, for 6 months, even if they complimented themselves from that yin to that yang. So that's important. Date that person, see if you like them, because again, I've known a lot of people that started a partnership and within 3 months went straight down the hill, or with 6 months they figured out that person's really just a scammer, right? Or they're
Yep.
really not trustworthy. So it's very important that you do that dating phase in business.
Yeah, no, I
Anyway,
agree. I agree. I tell people that all the time. So like for me, like when I partnered up with Justin, my first business partner, I've already known Justin a year before that. And then even in regards to that, me and him already did deals. And the way that we did our deals is that we did them without contracts in place, like as far as like JV agreements. And so like, and at the end of the day, I know that I paid him out the fair portion of the deal. Okay. The fair portion of the deal, like without the agreement in place. And I know that when he had the money deposited to his bank account, he still paid me out the complete compared to like some people. Granted, it was like, a $12,000 deal at that time, like granted, some people, in our market say the 12 and you won't hear from them again. Like, God, sorry, like done. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So like just that act alone was like, okay, cool. This guy seems honest. He seems trustworthy. And then I proved this. Like even I'll be fully transparent. Like this year, like from the houses that we bought, like Preston has wired like hundreds of thousands of dollars into my account, right? And I mean, like, and at the end of the day, like you're not gonna do that unless you trust the person that, hey, Jock, you're not gonna be in Cancun tomorrow and the count at zero.
Take it away.
Yeah. So
I think that's important, right? With the partnerships, like we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Any other things about that, Jock? You want to hit on partnerships? Like, I mean, we talked about dating. What about finding the right partner? How can you find the right partner? I think we go into some traction stuff, or some of that.
Yeah, we go into traction stuff. I mean, it's most people don't like. I feel like it's traction and also it's self-development too, because you really truly have to be aware of your strengths and weaknesses at its full capacity of of understanding where you truly are weak at. Like I know my strength is I'm a strong front end person. I know I'm strong at marketing, sales, and acquisitions. But most if most sales profiles, if they're strong on front end as far as marketing, sales, acquisitions, they're probably not organized, detailed people. So that's usually the thing about sales profiles. So if like for me, for example, I know I'm not. I can show you the desk right now. Really not that organized right now, right? But which is like another thing I'll talk about is like you can find a partner who can complement that, or you can find the key hires who complement that. I've learned from the partnerships that like I could just hire the people that I'm looking for. So that's what I've done. Like Sasha, she's one of the people that like cleans up after me essentially, Like I know we can talk about.
Did you get into what your team looks like right now, Jock? Fully?
No, we're talking about hires right now in terms of finding the partners.
No, I haven't talked about like what my team looks like now. But I mean, we can get into that if you guys want to.
Yeah, let's keep talking about this a little bit though, because I think it's important. What you said was a good thing about it is that you can find people versus finding it. But keep going a little bit more about the finding the right partner if you do, which I think was good to bring up though. You can find people instead of finding a partner.
Yeah, I mean, also like I would say like even with partners, like I would definitely say like not only like like measuring your strengths and weaknesses and personalities because you can have that, but also finding people at your level or at either they need to be at your level or they need to be above you, but do not partner with somebody at a level below you. And I don't mean in the instance of like their finances or anything like that, but like let's just say like cognitive ability. Like if you you can be detailed and dumb. You don't want that's not the partner that you want. That's not the partner that you want. Right? If you're a smart operator, like somebody who's high level, like I know for me, like I know that like if you guys like me in the high school, like I was all AP classes, like close to 4.0 GPA, like I scored high, very, very high when I took the ASVAB. Like I was smart throughout school. So I still carry that around. And then like Preston, he's smart. Like he's my current career right? Like we're split now, but like it's way smarter than me, right? And and then
also, would you say like drive and ambition plays into some of that too, not just intelligence, right?
Yeah, drive and ambition too. But yeah, for sure. Like they need to have a work ethic that matches yours, or sometimes even supersedes yours, but don't have it below yours.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be doing all the work, or feel like you're doing all
Yeah.
the work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think another important thing, like Jock was bringing up, is that you need to have someone that complements you as well, right? If you're going to get a partner, and this is the thing that I was talking about a little bit in the beginning, we all just want to bring our friends on, and usually, guess what your friend is? Guess what your personality of your friend, and guess what they're usually good at too? It's
Mm-hmm.
usually the stuff you're good at, right? That's why you're friends
Yeah.
with them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get someone that's just as good as you in sales, right? So I'm gonna be friends with someone. I like doing sales and being extroverted, but more than likely, most of my friends are going to be extroverted because why would I be hanging around with people that and don't compliment or are not? I don't want to
Don't
be
like to
hanging
talk.
with people that are not like me, right? That's just a
Yeah.
human. That's the human, mind, right? So if I bring all my friends with me, obviously they're good, could be good salesmen and they're good extroverts, but that's not going to help me grow a business, right? Because what's going to happen is we're going to have good salespeople doing marketing things or doing operational things or dealing with hires, fires. And that's not the right thing to do, right? You should find someone that's like the yang to your yang in traction terms, right? If you guys have not read the book Traction, great book. There's a visionary and integrator. The visionary comes up with the vision of the company, the integrators, and this is just short summary. The integrator puts that vision into place. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can't find someone if you're that visionary, if you're the integrator, whatever one you are, you need to find that person that complements you. And that way you can take on your business to a whole nother level. So that way you can not just excel in sales, you can also get someone that come in here and excel on those operational stuff, marketing. And that way you guys complement together and you'll grow. I think there's like some funny saying, 1 + 1 = 3. You're going to grow
I
like
think it's Carlos
way,
and Sal, right?
I don't know. It's probably some book.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exponentially.
that probably
Yeah.
was.
That's why I say like the cognitive and then core values too. I gotta
Yeah.
make sure
That's where it
that
comes to.
the values of the person that you're partnering with align. And then I wouldn't even say that's like what I was gonna talk about is more of like a key hire thing for like an operator or if you're
Mhm.
hiring an integrator. Cause like one thing like I've kind of learned with like dealing with integrators and because I always thought of myself as an integrator. I think I've been a hybrid. I can like if I have a visionary whose vision extends past mine, I can step into integrator role.
Yeah.
But like really now like I'm really stepping like I've kind of embodied the more visionary, but like I've kind of learned that like that you can have highly detailed smart people, but then sometimes like what I've seen with the people that I've dealt with is that like I've overwhelmed them at times. And then
Mhm.
there's some people who don't get overwhelmed. Like I know like for Sasha's overseas, Sasha's in the Philippines. I've hired people in state and I've hired Sasha and Sasha outperforms people that I've had in state.
Yeah.
Right. And like out and because like what I've noticed is that like sometimes with integrators is that if you tell them the vision of what you're trying to accomplish, well, sometimes they'll have a hard time. Sometimes they'll
Understanding.
get, yeah, exactly. And they won't know how to, and the
Bridging
other
the
thing is
gap.
like they won't, yep, exactly. They don't know how to bridge the gap and get it down detailed to the departments that necessary. Or sometimes they'll get too detailed that they don't know how to connect it to the big picture, which is something that I saw that like I would do exercises. I'm like, damn, like I'll ask them like, okay, like for example, like I'll ask them like, okay, if we're tracking the KPIs of texting, how does that contribute to us making more money? And then they're like, I don't know. I'm like, no, you need to know, like, you need to bridge that, like, you need to figure out how
Yeah,
that connects.
that's not gonna fly.
No, for
No,
sure. I
yeah,
like that.
I agree with you completely. Yeah, it's like the I don't know answer is not acceptable.
For
That's
sure. So, but Jock,
I
now like
agree.
let's get into. Let's go over your
But
team and
I
let's
want to
Chandler
go
get
one more thing on one more thing on Jock. But yeah, like with Jock, how he said, integrator, visionary partner, or whatever. Like if it's a partner, you bring in someone you hire to do the things you're not as good at, the yang to your yin. The better you are at able to compartmentalize like what needs to be done and pass that vision to like help them bridge the gap, the lower you can go a lot farther with less talent if you're a better coach and a better leader. So they take that into account too.
for sure.
But
I
I
like
mean,
that.
what Jock's saying as well. I mean, shoot, it happens to me like every day. It's like you tell them like something that's like the things don't quite connect sometimes.
It's probably also because you don't do a good job explaining.
I know, right?
Chandler's
Yes.
got
That's
his
exactly what I'm saying, dude. I suck.
like you think
But
like you tell people like something, and that's where you got to learn as leaders. Like it
Yeah.
seems so obvious to you, like the question you ask, but it's also
yeah.
it doesn't. They're not seeing it from your perspective. Doesn't mean they're not smart enough. It's just you're doing a bad job explaining. It's probably what happens to
Exactly.
me of a lot of my texts because I forget keywords in them.
Dude, Gino's the worst texter by far. He'll send like 3 words, but said like 20 in his head, and then like that's all he gets. You're like, I need brain or something like that. And you're like, what? But anyways, yeah. Like, another thing too is like anytime I tell someone something, it's like I try to challenge myself to, if I can tell them in one try and they understand it, then like I achieved what the communication standard that I set for myself. But how many times does that happen? Not the most time, because it's not hard. When you're the more complicated of an idea, the harder it is to wrap your head around it to someone who doesn't have all the full details.
I will tell you one thing that I've learned when it comes to that is, and I learned it through NLP. So in NLP, there's a saying about being an effective communicator. So effective communicator is not getting people to understand you. It's you speaking the way that they will understand. So, for example, if I'm communicating something to you, and if I have to repeat the words, "Hey, you're not getting what I'm saying," that's completely wrong. I'm not communicating in a way that you understand. So one thing I started to learn was like, okay, like when I took, we take all this personalities, predictive index, we take freaking like just values and all this other stuff. And then like, okay, cool. Like if you notice, like if you like watch me on a day-to-day basis and you watch how I interact with my team, you will notice I talk to every single one of my direct reports differently. Like I talk to every single one, like we'll be on the same Zoom call and I'll talk to them differently.
So tell us a little bit about
can you go? Yeah, can you go? Wait, what is NLP? Can you start there? For anyone else listening?
So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It's pretty much the study behind. It pretty much goes deep into the subconscious and studying what's the behaviors that drives people's habits, subconscious, because your habits are like controlled by your subconscious. So the reason why we had to learn how to effective communication is because of the fact that NLP there's a form of therapy involved in it. And so for that form of therapy to really take place, you have to learn how to build rapport with that person very, very effectively. So they have a whole study on how to build rapport with people subconsciously, right? And I mean, I'm big on studying Tony Robbins. And so like all of that has helped my sales, like negotiations and just like my ability to build rapport with sellers so quickly, because most sellers don't realize is that I'm focusing. I know we talk about a lot about like the wordplay and how we're wording things to negotiate, but like I take it a step further and I'm looking at how can I build rapport with this person subconsciously? How can I match and mirror their tone? How can I match and mirror their breathing? Like people don't understand, like that's how calculated I am. I'm matching a person's breathing. I'm matching their stance at the appointment. And I'll do exercises like where like, because there's a saying like for example, like if you ever see people deep in conversation in a room, and you just look at a group of guys and say they're in deep connection, or somebody on a date, let's just say somebody has their arms crossed, somebody has their arms crossed like this with them, you'll notice that the other person who's in deep conversation, they're matching that person, and they're not even realizing that they're doing it consciously. They're literally matching that person just subconsciously. So you can actually create it to where if you're on an appointment with seller, or even if you're on the phone, there's 2 different ways on it. I can do both, but if you're on an appointment with seller, you mimic the person's body movements until you know that. And how you could test if you have a state of rapport built with them, especially with breathing, if you can match their breathing too, is that like, for example, if you have your arms crossed at the appointment, you could just drop your hands to the side. And if the seller drops their hands, then you just built rapport. You have a established rapport with the person. Because most people don't understand, like rapport, 7% of rapport comes from actually the words that you say. The rest of it is actually it's a subconscious establishment or connection.
Interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah. I guess it's like when you're with someone in a room, they say like if you laugh, you look, and when you laugh, you look at the person who you're most like connected with. Is that like a similar type thing? Or
That sounds like so much.
I know, I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not. I swear.
No, I mean, because you're gonna be looking to see if they're laughing too. That's what you're actually looking for confirmation that like, hey, like, are they laughing as well? Do they find it funny too? Yeah, because then that actually builds a connection. Like, oh, you find what I find funny, so that like now we're even deeper connected because of that reason.
So, Jacques, how would you do it on the phone then? On a phone call?
So like, oh, dude, I like if you want, like, dude, I kill it on the phones. Cause like it was weird, like how I do it so subconsciously. Like, you don't understand. Like whenever I come to a seller appointment, it's funny. Cause like I mean, if a seller calls me on the phone, if they have a slight country accent, I'm literally I'm toning my accent to even match it. You don't understand. Like my country
Can I hear
accent.
a country accent?
Dude, it's like I have to admit, like, honestly, dude, I
Talk
like,
country, Chandler.
I don't.
Hey,
like,
let's hear it. Let's hear it, Jock. You got any cows back home?
Yeah, I got a couple cows. You know, like
Hey.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, dude. Because usually when I come to this other appointment, they're like, you're the guy I talked to on the phone. They're like, you sure? Like,
you don't look like a guy.
Copenhagen with you. Take a pinch of Copenhagen.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I got the boots and everything.
Hey.
Let's go.
But a couple ways you could do it on the phone. Tone. I go over tonality, volume, diction, and then also if you can actually mimic the accent, then mimic accent. But if you can't, don't do it. But really, tonality is big. Matching the person's tone, and then as you're trying to take them to a different level, you can actually, Chris Voss talks about it, changing your tone throughout the conversation so it's not monotone. You're keeping the person engaged. Jordan Belfort talks about it because, if you're whispering at a certain point, the person has to, like, they have to have to listen a little bit more to catch it. But like tonality is big, matching their tone, because obviously if you're yelling on the phone and it's an old person who's like, hello, and you're yelling on the phone, you are like, okay, why the hell are you yelling on the phone? And then volume, which is the same essence of that. Diction, which is a big that I talk about, is like, okay, like you could be saying it's funny how you could be saying the same thing but then be speaking two different languages, and most people don't understand that, right? If you're speaking to a seller who's very, very laid back, relaxed, cussing on the phone, fuck this, like that, excuse my language, but forget that, forget this, whatever, then obviously if you're the guy who's speaking very, very proper, you're already you guys are already out of sync, and like you could be saying, exactly, you could be saying the same thing, that, hey, I could get you this price per seller, but this is the process that we have to follow and stuff like that. And this guy's like, bro, like that's cool, but like I don't trust you. Like it's like,
they want to talk to people like them. They don't want to be an old lady. Doesn't want to be hearing the salesman, young guy screaming at her to buy or sell her house. They don't want to be on the phone with people that again they don't feel relatable to. So that's why you throw that country accent in there. They think you're one of them.
Tell them you go to the dirt track on Saturday night in Hartwell.
I don't know. I told him, hey, pray, go Trump. That's what you
Trump. Whatever it is, go Biden, go Trump, man.
Whatever I gotta say.
That's how it works. Huh? Never disagree with the seller.
Yeah.
Never disagree.
Yeah. So NLP is pretty cool, just like that. Silent, like subtle rapport building, right? And you've done a couple trainings with it, right?
Yeah, I've done 7-day. I'm doing the Master Prac. Master Prac is a 16-day training. It's like 9 hours long each day.
Shoot, huh?
Yeah, dude. Oh no, because I mean, bro, you don't understand. Like NLP is like it's crazy when you get into therapy and stuff like that. Like I could go long story about just the therapy side. It's like it's like a little like slight like hip. It's just like hypnosis too.
Interesting.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I guess what we were going to go to earlier, Jock, what does your team look like right now?
Okay. Yeah. So team size. So right now I'm onboarding. I'll go over who I'm bringing on, and I'll go over who I have. So I have one more acquisitions coming into place. I also have a full-time TC. I'm building out to where it's a TC and Dispo, and he's also a licensed agent as well. So since I'll be doing innovation contracts, it's just going to be a hybrid of handling all of that. So right now I have one acquisitions, and then sometimes I'll sometimes step into acquisitions. I don't like to, but like I will if I have to. And then I have Dennis, who's our appointment setter. He manages our follow specialist team. So I have 4 follow VAs under him who are our follow specialists. They just go through following up with leads all day, texting, calling. And then they do a warm transfer to Dennis. Dennis will either qualify a lead, set the appointment for acquisitions, put in our calendar. We'll go on appointment. But pretty much like I built it out to where you know, like a lot of people try to emphasize on having a lot of acquisitions, which we all like. We know that like having a large sales team is not really all that.
No,
It's
no, you
not.
don't want that.
It's a headache. It's like
Yeah.
it's figure out how can I bring my sales team down. So I modeled it after myself because I knew that like I was the type of person I don't like to make 150 calls a day. I was just never built my personality. I dove so deep into sales that I wanted to figure out on how I could do more with less. So if I could take 30 leads, and if I could produce the same results with 30 leads and somebody could do 150, I'll take that because I like So then I was like, okay, like well then how can I build a system to where I'm only speaking with the people that worth my time with speaking with. So that's how I kind of designed it. So that's why I have my follow specialists and then dentists who are working throughout. They're working inside the CRM, following up with leads and dentists qualifying appointments. He's also like he resets their expectations before the appointment. Through a number of things, and then also which we just have finished our training with Eric, so we're changing that whole appointment setting process from how I had it before was that if they were willing to sell within the next 30 days. They didn't qualify about price, but if next 30 days, then we're going on appointment. Dennis will set the expectation that, hey, like, listen, if their price was too high, he would reset their expectations, tell them that, hey, like, listen, we would be under this. Do you still want us to come? Right. So if if they say yes, and I will either me or acquisitions go on appointment. And then from there, just do our thing. Right. So,
what about now though? How are you going to do it?
So right now, pretty much what we're gonna do now after sitting down with Eric is if it's somebody who wants to sell within the next 6 months, regardless of price, we're going on an appointment. Just because Eric was like, Jacques, he's like, you built it out for you, but he's like, you're not in acquisitions anymore. So like your acquisitions is doing full-time acquisitions. So send them on more appointments. He's like,
let's explain too to the audience listening who Eric is. Like who's Eric?
Eric's just another guy.
Random
the
guy.
goat,
Random guy.
the goat, the big guy, the big dude. So if you guys don't know Eric Brewer, huge player in the Pennsylvania market, a real estate legend in my opinion. I think he did. I know last month he told me they just did like 40 deals last month.
Yeah.
So just last month alone. But I think he does like over 400 deals a year. Runs a real estate brokerage, very, very dialed in. He was talking to me about like his systems and processes too. I'm like, dude, I was like, yeah, I see why you did 40.
Exactly. and you guys listening too, like Eric's gonna be on next week. We actually have Eric coming on the podcast next week.
Dude, that's fire.
Yeah, so you guys be ready for next week as well. But like Jacques saying, he's a killer. 40 deals a month, man. 40 deals a month. And guess what, guys? He's in one small market.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's in a small market of Pennsylvania even. Like he's not even in a huge market, and he's doing 40 deals a month. That shows you how good his systems and processes are, like Jacques talking about, right?
Yeah, dude, their revenue market is like crazy for one market too. Like he was telling me how much they were set to make. I was like, dang. I was like, jeez. But yeah, like how the system will work now is that like, okay, cool. Like if they're wanting to sell within the next 6 months, we're going on an appointment. I'm building it out to where like I always had the follow specialist following up before the appointment, but so how I wanted it just to ensure that there's accountability, because a big thing for me is like I'm pretty lax at the office. Like, you don't really have to be at the office on time. Be on the meetings on time. I'm strict on that. But then also you don't be late to seller appointments. You're not late to seller appointments. That's like one of my non-negotiable. I have a system that like we're building out a system to where our follow specialist will call the seller an hour and 30 minutes after to literally ask if the acquisition showed up on time. We do a survey call, and if you're late to 3 appointments, you're automatically terminated. Like that's just like my non-negotiable. If you're late and you didn't notify the seller, which I express on meetings like, hey guys, you guys know I'm relaxed, but one thing you guys will not do is mess up our image with the sellers. That's not what you're doing.
For sure.
So, because I had an incident, bro. I had one incident where they set an appointment, and I'm not sure if they didn't mark it in their calendar. I was cussing some people out. because this lady, like, trust me, dude. It was just something because I had the seller call me, and then she was like, somebody was supposed to meet me on the property. I was like, what do you mean somebody's supposed to meet you at the property? Like, I was like, and then she's like, yeah, I drove 100 miles. She's a breast cancer. I was like, oh, dude, I lit everybody up because I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way you guys did this. I was like, there's just no way you guys did this. I thought this is because that's their first time ever doing. That's their first time ever dropping the ball with a seller. Like that's the first time.
It's so important to be on pace and all that stuff. And guys, if you guys have questions, leave them down below as well. And I know Kelsey has one here for you, Jacques, which you can read out loud. But yeah, if you guys have questions, keep them going. I know Mark's commenting over here. Got DeMonte giving us that LOL. But yeah, if you guys have questions, leave them below.
Oh, are your partners solely utilized on flips? Or do you partners get equity in your general? So how it was structured before is that they got pretty much like how it was pretty much split like every transaction through the company, which was like something like in hindsight, like granted, like like I could have since we did a majority of hotels and like wholesales, I could count on my hand that amount of flips that we did. I pretty much just like left a lot of money on the table. But at the end of the day, like with the business partner I had before, I learned. I mean, granted, he's a huge operator in this market. Most people don't understand like the amount of volume that he does, and just like his business acumen and business IQ is like up there. And he also runs a high level brokerage. Like they do some of the numbers to. I think that his brokerage did like $6 million in revenue last year. And then even on the flips, like he's doing like he's knocking down like full gut rehabs. Like he's knocking down from anywhere from 10 to 15 just rehabs alone on a monthly basis. So like being around somebody like that, like you learn a lot. So like it's like I kind of learned that like I had like a year-long MBA in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
your business IQ. Caesar has a question for you too.
Oh, how many cold callers total? So right now we have 6 cold callers. How I have that structured is so pretty much I have also a quality control manager, and then I also have a cold call, like our marketing manager too. So our quality control manager, she goes back and she listens to all the cold calls every single day, and she does it. She ranks them on a bulk cold calls are a top marketing tactic, and then she ranks her calls on a scorecard, and then also she'll bring up. I have a bonus for my cold cards as well. As far as like a weekly bonus is that whoever has the highest conversion. So if you have the highest conversion, you get a $25 bonus for the week. If you have the most leads, you get a $25 bonus for the week. If you have both, you get a $75 bonus for the week. So that really, really like incentivizes. So like I used to have.
What is the conversion? Like, is that like what does that mean?
So pretty much from total calls to leads produced. We calculate the percentage as far as who's converting more. In that basis, they're all working the same shift. So like pretty much we track that on a weekly basis. We have our Friday calls with them, which I'm not even on at this point. I'm not even on the Friday calls with the cold callers. Just Sasha, Francia, and Jennifer. Jennifer is like one of my follow specialists. She's like my longest employee. She's one of my longest lasting VAs, but Jennifer has made us so much money. But I give Jennifer big bonuses. Like she's been paid. Like she lives in Honduras and she's been paid. Trust me.
That's what I like to hear.
That's what's up.
You're right.
So but she knows how I like things as far as because I worked with Jennifer so much and I worked with a lot of them so much that like now it's at a point I don't even know half the time who our cold callers are. Because like, I don't, like,
that's how it's supposed to be running the business.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, we need to make sure that you guys know from Stoplight having like sharpen your business. Hey, this is your numbers that you need to be meeting weekly as a department. I don't care how, just go meet the number, right? So like, we'll have our meetings like, hey, you need to hire this many cold callers or this many. I tell them like, hey, like, so we've done our process. I think a big thing was a process map too. That really helped out because we did a group process map on how to find more VAs. I did it with Jennifer and my other VAs too. and we mapped out all the sources, how to onboard and everything. So now to a point to where I could go text one of them right now, hey, go hire somebody by the end of this week, or hire 3 more people by the end of this week. They'll have it done, onboarded into our hub staff. They'll have them ready for our payroll next week, and then it'll literally I don't have to receive any form of communication.
I like that. So Chandler, why don't you get one while we're waiting? Pull up a process map for us of ours. Get one if you can, if you're in a position. Get it set up while we're waiting for that. Let's talk a little bit, guys. Again, leave any questions down below, or any questions wherever it's down below to the side, whatever it is. All right, here's right here. DeMonte's got one right here. But while you're doing that, Chandler, yeah, we'll just answer a couple questions. So DeMonte has one for you, Jacques.
Okay. What's your favorite source for cold calling versus VA hiring? I gotta go to my process map. Because I don't know where we're going.
I can share.
So again, what process maps are is literally you map your process out in the most basic format, most boring format, and like a little, arrow from here to there. This goes to here. This goes to there. So Chandler, pull it up right here.
I'll pull it up.
I'll answer that question. Sorry.
Yeah. On that question,
go ahead.
Jacques.
Go for it while I'm pulling it up.
Oh, onlinejobs.ph.
Gotcha.
It was really good.
Onlinejobs.ph. And another thing too is like, here's an example. Here we go.
All right. So this is just our disposition
Zoom in
process.
too, Chandler, on your thing.
I am. This is our dispo process, and just like to give you guys a quick thing, a quick little nerd out moment to teach y'all what this is. Every process starts with a trigger of starting and an endpoint. So this is 2 red things. So basically, this one starts whenever we get a purchase agreement signed with the seller, which is just an A/B agreement, and then it ends when the sell agreement's signed. So basically, disposition's job is to get the contract or the seller's account basically from contract signed to getting them to a sell agreement signed with an end buyer, so the B2C contract. So what we got here is they do the welcome call, and again, these little boxes that have lines on them just mean it's another process in a process. So let's see if this is no. So you see how this one's blue? I can click on that and go there. But this one anyways is there. So it's what do you do? Here's some basic notes on it, right? And then coordinate the pictures. So it's what is that? Underwrite the property, market the property, coordinate walkthrough, collect the offers, negotiate them. Then we ask, do we accept an offer? If we did, then okay, great, we continue. If not, then we decide if we're going to remarket it. So if we do not, then we coordinate a walkthrough date and time. If we are going to remarket the property, then we're going to, go back to marketing the property again, right?
Yeah, and so if you say no to remarketing, what Chandler's saying is we're going to just go and not remarket. Get another walkthrough for other buyers.
Get another day for people to come through. Then we're going to collect those offers again, negotiate any. If we're going to accept one, then we're going to get that sell agreement signed, email it to the TC, and then that's the end of that. So that's basically how that works.
So it's just, and you have process all over. I mean, there's hundreds, right, Jacques? Tell us.
Yeah, there's about, so many.
Some of yours are on.
Yeah, here I could pull up one.
Ours are a little disgusting right now because we're redoing some of them, but. For example, here's a lead management process right here. So basically we go in, leads received where it starts, it finishes at appointment set. So basic click, this is a Salesforce process. Click this, do this, yada, yada, yada. Do the initial call. Then once you do the initial call, you identify where does this thing go to? Does it go to, I messed it up. Well, actually, no, never mind. I didn't mess it up. Yeah, if it goes there, then does it go to working with the no contact bucket? If it goes there, then you call it 3 times. You leave a voicemail. You apply the lead source, no answer drip. And then you go to the next part. Is it unqualified? Read all these different things that we have, the different categories. Exactly. I can go through what they mean. And then basically just tells them hey, what do they do? And then they have a thought flow. Okay, let's say they answer again. Did they answer? Oh, they did. Can an appointment be set? Oh, it can? Okay, great. Set the appointment and it's done. Oh, it can't. Okay, go back.
Nerd stuff over here. Let's get some.
Yeah, there's so many nerd things, but and then you
get operations.
I can get all in here.
Go ahead. I can show my acquisitions process.
Yeah, show the acquisitions for the people, and so we'll answer some of these questions. Grayson will answer Caesar some more after Jacques presents his, what his looks like. Add it to the stream. There you go, Jacques.
Let's see. So pretty much in acquisitions, we start from as you see, our start point right here. We're notified leading in investor reviews, reviewing notes, and this is before we started getting heavy into more appointments models. This is kind of hybrid between dentists. We're reviewing the notes, call the lead for information. If they answer no, acquisition follow process. I have a whole mapped out process on how so I have from the acquisition follow process, like what they know is that like I have like a certain call ring that they have to follow like call schedule that they have to follow if the person said no, like did not answer, right? So like it's like I have to go back and look at it again, but I know you're calling the person twice in the same day, and then like you're calling a person like twice each consecutively for like I think I call it the 9 days of pain. That's what I call it. Like you're gonna hear from us. Like yes, are they still available for appointment? No. Can we reschedule? Can they send pictures and videos instead? And then no. Then they go back to the follow process. Yes, we run deals together. Is it still a deal? No. Follow up. Yes. Define maximum allowable offers to updated approval and maximum allowable offer to acquisitions. They get that from the sales director, which would be me. Confirm appointment with the seller. Send offer details and contract via email. Did they accept? No. Did they send a counter offer? No. Follow up process. Yes. Loops back up to is this still a deal? So as you guys can see, then we have the uploaded signed contract to our EverSign, set appointment, 10 property inspection. Does property pass inspection? No. Can we renegotiate? No. Assign follow-up contract cancellation process. Yes, renegotiation process goes back all the way to the beginning of acquisitions. Update investor reviews with all information. Send contract details to TC. Send introductory email to TC. Looping the seller and the transaction coordinator in one email. Properties on the contract, and then from here we have onboarded. I just added this on because we had another incident last week where they didn't get the keys from the seller. And I was like, oh, dude, I lit them up again because I'm like, what are you guys doing? Because what happened, because we got a call from the neighbors saying somebody's been in and out the property. Found out that like I got the property boarded up now because we already have it sold to a hedge fund. But like we got it for 37, we have it sold to a hedge fund for 80, and then but these people were using a fireplace. I was like, yeah, I'm shooting my team out. I was like, do you guys not know how much a liability is for somebody to light a fire in a property? I was like, do you guys
we had a house burned down. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
exactly. I was like, I told about your story about the house that burned down. I was like, dude,
we don't want that.
I'm like, granted, guys, I was like, granted, we get insurance on the property, but I'm like, you guys understand, it's not quick that it's not the next day the insurance pays you money. Like,
exactly. And I think it's important too, though, Jacques, regarding these things, is like everyone watching this looks like a bunch of stuff, right? I remember that from the screen, Jacques. But what we're looking at is a bunch of those boxes, those squares, all that stuff. But we got to know that like this is a process map, right? You're mapping the process out. You're not telling the procedure going on, right? And every one of those squares, you can go in there now and make a Loom video. So like how Chandler was showing ours, it was call the seller up to, intro call to the seller. So in that box, we also link a Loom video. So we put in there in our procedures where there's a Loom video or a video regarding to how we talk to sellers, or a script of how we talk to sellers when we call up. So again, all these boxes will help you build a business because those are the procedures. They can watch them and see how to do that, but they first need to understand the flow of that process of how you can get there. And then once they know that, they can go to every box and learn the procedure. So now guess what? When you hire a TC, they're not guessing on what to do. They're not saying, where do I click this and this in Trello? Where do I click this in Kajabi? How do I find this? What do I do? No, they know their procedure or their process, of their job. And they know where everything's at because they're in those squares or in that map of that process.
It's just super important to get clarity. I would say it's not the best training tool. There's a better way to make SOPs and onboarding documents, but it's really good to give clarity on what's supposed to be done and kind of how the general flow looks like. How it's like, I call it more like the guidelines, how to get to the results you're looking for, like kind of helping them bridge that gap.
And then you can link that to your procedures.
Exactly. But we got another couple questions here. Let's get these things rolling real quick. So Grayson asked, for each of you, what are 3 best business books you've read? Well, for me, I'm going to have to go with Traction, 5 Dysfunction of a Team, and The One Thing, because those are the 3 I've read
That's the only three.
The only three. Hey,
three
you'd be
I've
proud.
read.
Those are the only 3 books I've read since like middle school. So I mean, like I don't know if that's something
Yeah,
flex
exactly.
or
Yeah,
what.
there's
But
literally that. So I would say mine's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I read that on the plane ride to the Sharper conference and the one that we went to in Utah. I thought that was really, really solid. 4 disciplines of execution. And then also I would probably have to give it to Traction as well.
Gotcha. I guess my turn. I would say number 1 was Traction to open my eyes up. I would say number 2 would probably be the 5 Dysfunctions of the Team. So there we go, another 5 Dysfunctions of the Team.
yeah.
And then number 3, I mean, your business books you've read, but I mean, I would say one of the big books I read too, that really helped change my mindset and about like just sales in general and different things, like Never Split the Difference. I think that was a good book that could help you
I
with a
like
lot of
that.
things like in life.
That, and then I like The Way of the Wolf by
Jordan
Belfort.
Jordy.
Mr. Belfer. Jordan Belfer. How often does
Weekly.
your old manager? Okay, weekly.
Yeah, you got to go quick as possible right now.
So
Yeah, it's really tough right now.
Yeah, it's not our quality manager, but Sasha, she's on marketing, so she knows to swap out the numbers on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yep.
Sorry. How much for those process maps? LOL.
Oh man, that's
great.
The big thing is everyone's process is different. So like, even if I gave you our process map, you'd be like, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this thing?"
Yeah, and for
us,
us,
not going to help you out.
For our mastermind students that we have, we have that monthly mastermind. They get access to majority of our process maps. But like Chandler even saying too, is like you can see ours as replication, but you're not going to want to copy.
It's really like understanding how to do it, and you can get your head out. Like if you teach a man how to fish, he can eat forever. You give a man a fish, he's going to starve tomorrow. So
you guys brought up such a good point that I actually want to reiterate, because I actually had a conversation, because we're all the same age, and then we have like the other guys like Paul Abram in Nashville, who's 22, 21, Dawson, who's 22, and then like Wilney in Texas, who's 23, and they're like you're in 7-figure producers, but at the same time, like I remember I was telling somebody who like a close friend of mine, like he's trying to compare himself to like all of us, and I'm talking like, hey, like we don't compare ourselves to each other, right? Because like I was like, at the end of the day, like I could go in Gino's business and see that he has different seats and different roles, and I'm like, okay, cool. If I want to produce the same results as Gino, all I have to do is just hire this many people. When we know the reality of it is that like Gino, you inspire your people differently than me, right? Like I operate my team differently from that. I know their core values. They're all different. Like we all have our different processes and just different like personalities that we add to our business. That most people don't understand that. It's just not just like I could just give you a process map and you're going to make $1 million next year.
Yeah. Also, I want to add on to what Jacques saying. It's like super important. It's like, yeah, you can hire all these people, but there's like you have to have the self-development yourself in order to lead a team at that level. Like even as we've grown a team like this, like man, we've been kicked in the nuts like hundreds of times trying to figure out the best way to lead people, how to deal with all these people issues. And another like good example is like one of my buddies, who is I'm good friends with, like him and another guy like merged their businesses together, and he's like, I don't want to run the business, and so the guy he was merging with was going to do all the operations, and like my friend was going to basically be pretty much out of the business. So like they're merging, like let's say businesses that should have equaled like 1.8 million, 2 million in revenue, but they're only going to do like 1.5 because the guy who is running the business is not the level of an operator or level of a leader who can run a $2 million business. So before you can really like do all that other stuff too, is you got to make sure you're, on the self-development train in order to be on that level as well. So
for sure. I think that's big. So Caesar's got the next question here. What is your marketing monthly to hit 1 million profit a year? I don't think any of us are at 1 million profit.
Yeah, we're not at 1 million profit. That's $1 million revenue.
Yeah.
So 1 million profit would be nice.
Oh yeah, it would.
Yeah. So I mean, what is your marketing spend to be able to hit 1 million? So if we just do it, let's just say it was revenue and exchange.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could go. I mean, I know I track my weekly expenses, so I could tell you how much we're spending.
So now
for us, we're right now at $35,000 a month.
Yeah. And that's
And
what
we're
those
gonna do
kind of
about
be
like
doing. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
gross
Sorry.
we'll do like 1.85 or something.
which is solid. That's solid as hell. Shout out to Open Door. But anyways,
Part of
Yeah, for real.
like I
Part
would
of the
say, like
plan.
I would say, like a lot of like I guess a lot of our success, especially this year, has been attributed to like a high ass market, overinflated market, to where people are paying a lot more than what they should be paying, especially Open Door. For sure.
Yeah.
Like, how many 6-figure licks have you guys had this year from Open Door alone?
Probably only like we probably sold like
We
10
had
deals to
two.
them, but
Yeah,
we
we
had
don't.
two
I think
six-figure deals.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we also had some big wholesales too that were
Mhm.
not to Open Door. So
Yeah. But no, I think there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on to help this market for sure. But the
100%.
thing about us is like, we're constantly looking and developing into those, and what a lot of us too, you too, Jock, was like finding different ways to dispo, like just to get
Yeah.
out. Like we're gonna list everything on MLS now. Like, there's nothing that's
Yep.
not on MLS.
Mhm.
So
Yep. So let's see. Next one. How are you training your AQMs to underwrite deals to maintain a healthy balance of volume versus deal size? So if you want to answer this, Jock.
So I mean, I can definitely like speak to this because I know like a lot of people spend too much time trying to underwrite deals, and like like you're on the phone with the seller, like, okay, let me go run some comps. I'll come back with like they're taking a day to run comps. Like you're like, I'm running comps on a conversation within 5 minutes. I could tell you like, all right, this is where we're kind of be around about whatever. Like, but you really have to get into like practicing on. Well, you have to get measured, like you have to really like excel and understand your market. I would say that's a big thing. Really learn to understand your market. What's the average sales price in the area for, like, let's say for example, if you tell me like a house in Dallas, 1,200 square feet, depending on what zip code, I could probably tell you Dallas, Georgia. I could probably tell you that the house is going above $200,000 in price, right? I can just tell you that off the top of my head on market, right? But then like also take a step further, like, okay, now if we're running comps, I'm looking at comps and I'm able to underwrite it to like in a sense, like how I do it, like whenever acquisitions come on, I have a Google Excel sheet of, I teach them how to run comps. I have a sheet that lays out how they should run comps already. And then I have an Excel sheet that already has like, I have 15 properties on there, and they have to go run through it. And then after that, I run through it with them. And then they run through it and they practice running their comps. And then after that, I go over it with them and how to run it as well. And then we start doing practice runs on how to run comps on the phone. So I get that time down a lot quicker. So now that like my team, they can run comps while on the phone, which I know Gino and Chandler's team can do the exact same thing. They can run comps while they're on the phone, probably get an ARV within like 3 minutes while they're on the phone with the seller, right? That's the whole goal. But now if you're talking about like estimated repairs, that really comes down to understanding the rehab process and how can you ask the right questions to kind of gauge the condition of the property, right? So if you look at the property and you pull it up and it says the property is built in 1975, right? Hey, Mr. Seller, quick question: is the house closer to the condition of when you first bought it, or is it have you done a lot of major renovations since then? Like if they say it's closer to the condition of when they first bought it and it's 1,200 square feet, I can already tell you that we're going to be going in. Our end buyer is going to have to be going in and replacing floor carpet. Have you touched the HVAC and roof? Nope. Okay, HVAC, roof. How's the plumbing? There's a couple of leaks. Okay, do plumbing. Like you already assess that right there, and then boom, you could like underwrite it right there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's key. So we got another couple of minutes left. Let's rapid fire these next questions, and then we'll leave it off with an interest. But what data are you pulling from Adam? Where are you pulling your data real quick from, Jock?
We're pulling Adam in counties. So Adam data, we're pulling high equity apps 70% or 30%. I can't remember. 37.
Yeah, leave that for
somewhere in there.
Where
we got high equity absentee with where are we pulling? So we do Aldantic for our main source of data. So it's like a data provider, and basically their job is like it's AI algorithm, but basically their job is to get you in front of all the deals that are going to happen. If we need, let's say that we ran out of data and we don't have for whatever reason, there's like we need extra data. We're just pulling high equity absentee, which from Josh Chan on Instagram, which you guys can just DM me if you want a connection or just look him up. His skip tracing, but it's good enough data for a pretty dang cheap price. But yeah.
Rapid fire. Mark, Leads you to continue education as well. I think it's very important, Mark. Constant books.
Most
I think
important thing.
5 Dysfunctional Teams, a good book to continue that leadership. And
Also, big thing too is that we're learning. Sorry to cut you off, Gino, but it's not only like the leaders within your organization, not only yourself, it needs to be continuing the education, but also the leaders within your organization. Don't be the bottleneck for the information going into them, and everything has to come through you. Help them, let them have the freedom to go and learn too.
100%.
Cesar, I spent $40K, pull 400. You need to. That's awesome, bro. You
keep doing it, but it depends obviously on everyone's market, and it also depends on if you're a one-man show or what. Because if you're happy just working, which is perfectly fine, and that's what Gary Harper talks about, Jacques. If you're happy just doing your work, and just be a high-paid job, that's money, right?
Yep.
I would do it. Keep it going.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. Have you all listed the wholesale deal in MLS? Yeah, we've listed a couple, several.
More than a couple, yeah. We've listed
several. Several. I mean, we're not having any seller issues now that we setting expectations with them and telling them exactly what we're doing. So,
what about you, Jacques?
I mean, we've listed a couple. I mean, we didn't have any. I know it's probably through Nico, like that. Yeah. I know that's what we did. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we just set the expectations right, really, and just have the stipulation on contract.
I think that's big. Yeah, setting expectations. Kelsey, last question here: are you using flat fee MLS, or do you pay an agent $200? I'm curious. So what we do is we're doing flat fee listing, $500. Yeah, and we did use realtors in the past. We did one listing agent for a point and a half, but now we're going to start using the flat fee. Because we have our dispo girl. It's going to be our dispo. She's going to handle that process. Right?
Yep, exactly.
What about you, Jacques? What would you be doing? You got an agent on your team now, so.
Yeah, I'm about to say how I'm structuring it, just because that literally just that pretty much I'm making all my acquisitions get their license, and then also the TC, he's already licensed as well. So since I already have him, I'm paying him a salary plus he's getting a flat fee for every transaction that we do as a company. And then plus he's getting a portion of dispo. So I'm like, okay, he's gonna handle our listings, but I can definitely tell him that, hey, you're gonna be listing this at 1%. That's not
exactly. So guys, thanks for watching today. Jacques, why don't you give the people where can they reach out to you?
Best way is probably through Instagram. My social media handles Jacques JACQUES _Pierre PIERRE. That's usually the best way. Or if you guys want, I don't ever give out my number, but if you guys want to shoot me a text. Wait, it's going on YouTube, right? Hold on.
Yeah, it's going to go on YouTube. I mean, I'm not being Steve Trank. I'm not Steve Trank.
444.
Don't worry, I'm not Steve Trank. You're not going to get 200 messages.
There's his number.
So it's up to you. You guys DM Jacques for his number.
Blow him up.
Yeah, my number is 404-918-5112. Do with that.
Can't wait to run Facebook ads on this and advertise your number.
Thanks again, Jacques, too. And if you guys have questions after watching this, leave them down in the comments below. We'll at Jacques if it's for him, and if any for us, we'll get back to him. But thanks for coming on, Big Jockey.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We'll see you guys later.
All right. See you, fellas.